What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Lakers Outsiders podcast. Gary Kessler here with you as always. This is going to be you're going to hear kind of a different mood, a different tone, I think, in this podcast. I'm joined today by Hani Ahmadian and Jacob Rude. We're going to just dive right into this because we got a lot to discuss today. But DAngelo Russell was traded with. Along with Timofey Mozgov to the Brooklyn Nets. In exchange, the Lakers will receive Brook Lopez and the 27th pick in the 2017 NBA draft. Hani, I'll throw it to you since you have a new microphone, and I want to see if we can hear you. But what was your initial reaction to this trade?
Just surprised, making sure that I wasn't being faked out by a fake Woj account. Yeah, I was honestly not expecting this at all. There were a couple reports in the past few days about how the Lakers were potentially shopping DAngelo for a lottery pick. And even then, I didn't really believe any of those. Thought that was just other teams trying to put his value down, which maybe that was true. And if it was, it definitely worked. But yeah, I really did not expect him to be traded this year, at least.
Yeah, and Jacob, maybe I'm just reading too much into it or speculating even too much, but it almost sounds like the Lakers really drove his value down, right? They didn't really give out a ton of positive reviews about him, as far as the stuff behind the scenes and whatever. And really now kind of with, his progress in his second season, there just wasn't a lot of stuff that was said publicly that was very positive about him.
Yeah, they did a terrible job of trying to save any trade value that he might have had. We never really heard much from a positive standpoint about Russell. Kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff was always the Lakers questioning whether – it came out, I think Kevin Ding coupled – maybe yesterday, feels like an eternity ago, that really sure about Randall and Russell's kind of fit with the young core, and that was just kind of a message that was repeated over and over in some capacity. And they just did a terrible job, just everything about this whole situation. They drove his market down. To the point to where they couldn't even get a lottery pick for him, and then just kind of shipped him away. As it almost felt as kind of like an afterthought to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Honey, how worried are you now about Julius Randle getting dealt? Because we saw, as Jacob mentioned, that Kevin Ding article that talked about kind of how Randle took criticism. He didn't take it very well, even though we've seen how hard he works, and his body transformation over the last month is perfect evidence of that. And there's certainly things in his game he needs to fix. But how worried are you that he could be dealt now, whether it's for Paul George or if it's along with that Luol Deng contract?
Pretty worried, especially for the Paul George bit. I want to say that I don't think the Lakers are going to rush into getting rid of Deng's contract, but I didn't think they were going to do that with Mozgov either, so I'm not sure.
Especially after last night, because Woj was saying that they were refusing those types of deals, and then today they did exactly that. Yeah,
but as far as Paul George goes, it sounds like they're all in on trading for him now. They're not really looking to wait until 2018 like we thought they were. So they're trying to get whatever assets the Pacers basically demand out of them. And the other thing is, from like a other NBA perspective, the Cavs seem pretty intent on getting Paul George too, since apparently they're not going to be getting Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot more of a difficult decision for the Lakers, because if they let Paul George go to the Cavs, then there's a solid chance that he resigns there, and that's probably the only place that he might resign with. So yeah, I am pretty worried that they might do the not so smart thing and trade away even more of their young guys and their picks to try and get Paul George early.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you mentioned Jimmy Butler. There was a report today that Jimmy Butler has stated that he wants to stay in Chicago. He wants to help rebuild them back into a contender like they were with Michael Jordan, and even for a little bit with Derrick Rose there. But yeah, it's crazy going into this day, the wide range of emotions that we experienced. For me personally, I was honestly early when I woke up this morning, and then we started to hear the Lakers have engaged in trade talks with the Pacers. I was downright giddy because I was like, they've got all the leverage here. They're in a great spot. Like, Cleveland's going after Jimmy Butler. Cleveland doesn't even have a general manager right now. Like, there's so many question marks with them. And I was like, the Lakers are in a great, great spot to get Paul George for essentially pennies on the dollar. I was thinking, maybe you can give up Clarkson, 28, Nance or Tarek Black, and a future first-round pick, something like that. And man, I mean, I was so excited that I was like, we can possibly get Paul George and add him to DAngelo Russell, probably Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Ivica Zubac, Julius Randle, all those guys. And, Clarkson is the one guy that would be expendable. And I mean, the Lakers just traded away, their best player. And they got Brook Lopez back, and he's, Brook Lopez is a solid player. He's a good player offensively. Doesn't offer a ton on the other end of the floor, but you're getting him for 1 year. This is the thing that kind of, oh God, and here's Anthony Irwin, of course. I should have known that this was going to happen. But
kind of dark. Should I move? Can y'all see me okay?
What's up, Anthony?
I just realized I have my tank top on too. Like, sun's down, guns out. Hi guys.
You totally butchered that, man.
Well, the sun isn't up. Like, the sun isn't out.
You went full bro on us, but
who's the saddest here? I want to know that. I want to know who's the saddest here.
The answer is yes.
It's a collective tie, 4-way tie.
I don't know if I was sad. I mean, I was kind of sad all day. I was pretty much, honestly, I was kind of irritated.
That's where I'm at now. Like, I just recorded, so we do these like solo short pods that go up on this different app or whatever. And I found myself getting more and more heated, like the longer I talk to myself. So by the time like the 7th minute rolled around, I was outright Stephen A. Smithing. Like, it was just, we were bamboozled. Like, it was just, but like, I just asked this question on Twitter. I don't know where I'm sorry for barging in on the conversation. I just asked this question on Twitter. If this move was a move to like open up cap space and maybe have a chance at LeBron in 2018, is a LeBron James, Paul George core good enough to win a title when he's 35?
Not unless Brandon Ingram really pans out like quickly. And I just can't. Everybody's so high on Ingram, and I get it. Like, I really do, even though he didn't show us a ton in his rookie year. But this kid is still 19. Like, he doesn't even turn 20 till he's September. So I don't think you can realistically expect him to be like a major difference maker for another at least 2 seasons.
Like, that's why
maybe I'm just selling low, but
it makes it all the more frustrating that they moved the kid who was most likely to make that jump. Like, LeBron got to Cleveland when Kyrie was what, 23?
Might have been younger than that.
But
he's 25 now. Like,
he's 25 now. So LeBron's been there what, 3 years now? 3 years, right?
Yeah. So
he got there right after he turned 22.
So the Lakers had a situation where they might have been able to persuade LeBron to come over and play with DAngelo Russell at the same age that he went back and played with Kyrie Irving. Not to say that DAngelo Russell is as good as Kyrie Irving was then. That doesn't matter so much to me. The kid most likely to impress LeBron or other free agents with a leap this year is probably DAngelo Russell, and they shipped him out to the wall that is Brooklyn, basically because they didn't like Timofey Mozgov's contract, or because he was aloof, according to Kevin Ding's stupid-ass head beast.
I think the thing that frustrates me most about this, like, it's good and well if you really think you have a chance to chase LeBron, but you didn't need to do it this year. Like, there was nothing contingent on you creating cap space this year. Like, why not even if you think Russell's not part of the core, why not keep him? Try to actually, like we were saying before Anthony came on, they sabotage his trade value basically with all these reports that would come out. Why not keep him? Try to build up the trade value, trade him away at the deadline or something. But also, Mozgov, the asking price to take on Mozgov's contract goes way down in a year when there's one less year on the deal. Like it just doesn't make sense to me that they did it this year for a move that might happen a year from now.
That's my thing is like, why now? Because
yeah, exactly.
DAngelo, as inconsistent as he's been, like a lot of young players are, this roster has not been built around his strengths at all. Like, think about the last 2 years. The Lakers, obviously haven't had defenders at all. They've been just a horrid defensive team. For some reason, that gets put on DAngelo a lot. I don't know why, but the other 14 players didn't play defense either. But you think about, there's nobody to help ease the playmaking burden off his shoulders, right? Like last year, it was him and it was Randall. A little bit of Ingram here and there. That was pretty much it in terms of playmakers. And with shooting last year, it almost was exclusively him. They didn't have any stretch bigs. Clarkson was low 30%, I think like 32%. But like the things that you need and the things that Lonzo brings to the table, why wouldn't you give those two a year to play next to each other?
Or 6 months, like a few months. Just like you could make this kind of move at the deadline. This doesn't mean like, unless they think that they have a chance at acquiring another star into the cap space that they could be. Like if we find out that maybe they send another piece out along with Luol Deng, and unbeknownst to literally anybody on the face of the planet, Russell Westbrook is ready to leave OKC because he's sick of averaging a triple-double to get booted in the first round anyway. Like, I don't see the benefit of moving it right now. And even if that is the move, you're just putting all the more pressure on Ingram and Lonzo, two guys who are way less ready because of their age to make the kind of leap that you need them to make to appease a LeBron James enough to think about coming to LA. Unless he's willing to
the same age.
Yeah, like unless LeBron is cool with, you know what, I'm done winning titles. I'm not even going to try. I just want to come out to LA and party with the banana crew or the banana boat crew at the end of his career. Then fine. Like if he wants to do that, great. And if that's the case, and we get to go watch, 4 really, really, really good NBA players ride off into the sunset together, okay. But then what's on the other half of that? Like what's on the other end of that? Because all you're doing after the banana boat ride into the sunset that would be is you're back where the Lakers were 4 years ago. And you have to go through another 4 years to compile the necessary assets to get back to where the Lakers were going into this offseason. I'm yelling again, aren't I?
Or you're where the Cavs are kind of looking at now, where they have a bunch of people on huge contracts. LeBron's talking about leaving. The one other star they have, Kyrie, there's rumors that he wants to leave now. But nothing. I keep saying it. Nothing about this makes sense. Like, why now? Why DAngelo? Why? Like, I don't.
Why?
Yeah. It's so wildly necessary right now. Like, okay, cool. We have cap space now. Like, what are we gonna do with it? We're gonna go sign what this offseason?
The cap space has worked out really, really well for the Lakers since 2014. Like, really, really well.
It's a flawed plan that the old front office tried for 3 summers in a row, and it eventually got them fired. So now that's what Magic and Pelinka are going to go chasing.
I might be mistaken on this, but didn't Magic sit in on one of the free agent meetings with was it Aldridge? I could have swore he was there for one of them.
I think he was there for Dwight, even maybe.
It depends. Like if we're talking about the 5th meeting with Aldridge, then I think like at some point in 73 meetings, I think Magic might have accidentally walked into the building once.
Well, because and that's the point that everybody brings up. It's like, oh, it's going to be different this time because we have Magic instead of Kupchak. We have Pelinka, and I was excited about that. I was like, yeah, two individuals that probably carry a little more charisma than the zombie that was Mitch Kupchak, as great as he was for so many years. But like, you've got to have something to sell. You can't sell a 26-win team. If you trade, so you've got Brook Lopez now for a year, whoopee. But you're going to trade now for Paul George, and if you give up a guy like Julius Randle, you're starting Larry Nance. So your starting lineup is Lonzo Ball, Paul George, Brandon Ingram, Larry Nance, and Brook Lopez. Is that team even above 500? Like, I mean, what are you selling at that point?
How about this for a worst case scenario? So they make this trade and they don't get Paul George this offseason, and they go into next season with essentially the same kind of group where you trade out. Mozgov wasn't going to have a very big role next year anyway, so F him. And then you have DAngelo Russell isn't there anymore, and you replace basically DAngelo Russell with Brook Lopez. And if Brook Lopez's foot issues come back, now all of a sudden the hypothetical or the scenario where you send the number 2 overall pick out to Boston becomes all too real. And I can't have that. Like, it was so nice yesterday to be, on hashtag Team Petty and to be able to rub it in Boston Celtics faces that, Danny Ainge is a moron again. But then the Lakers turn around and they're like, all right, Danny, hold my beer, hold my moonshine, hold my marijuana, like hold all of it. Monte Ellis was suspended 5 games. The league needs to drug test Magic is what I wanted. What needs to take place. This is just, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Jacob and I think Honey earlier. I don't know if this was on or off the air. I don't even know. This whole day's been a giant blur. But yeah, I went into this day like giddy about where the Lakers were. They were in such a good spot, and they just completely just threw it all away in one move. Like, I mean, yeah, they're in a decent spot. They can still get Paul George, and if they get him without giving up, Julius Randle, they say they trade, a couple draft picks and Jordan Clarkson or whatever, that's great. But I mean, you just traded away a former number 2 pick that was currently your best player on the roster in a salary dump. Like, I'm an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. Like, they did that with Dansby Swanson, and somehow this feels worse.
Not only was Russell like their second best, but it was far and away their best player. Like, yeah. Far and away. The off and on numbers that DAngelo Russell was working with were hilarious.
I tweeted that out earlier. Their hot start, they started 7-5, 10-10, whatever, however you want to look at it. Once Russell went down, the season went down with it. Like, once he got hurt, they were a completely different team, and they couldn't ever recover from it. So as much as, some people might hate DAngelo Russell, you can't deny that. Like, when he went out, they lost his shooting, they lost his playmaking, his scoring, all that, and they couldn't recover from it.
No, I mean,
well, Honey,
I was just going to say it was objectively their best player last season. Gary and I were talking about this, I think, a little before the pod. Objectively their best player, certainly their most important player, and you just gave them away in a salary dump.
Also their most complete player. I don't think any other player had as many skills that he used over the course of a game or over the course of his season as DAngelo.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, there's no way this actually comes to fruition. But if there's any way that the Nets could somehow, like, if they meet the Lakers in that really wonky tournament that they have at the end of Las Vegas Summer League, because I don't think they're scheduled to play each other, and DAngelo Russell just like trots out and rips Lonzo to actual shreds, like, I'm going to be credentialed. I'll be rooting from the press box, and like, people are going to be like, what the hell's going on over there? And I'm going to be chanting like, LeVar and I are going to get in a fight in the back room. Like,
Anthony's got his shirt off and waving it around.
I'm all aboard Team Petty. I will 100% join in on that. I'm cheering for DAngelo. Like,
I would actually make the argument. I would make the argument, and you guys can tell me if this is hyperbole or not. Can you guys name me an organization bungling a top tier talent worse than the Lakers did over the course of DAngelo Russell's career?
Maybe Philly with Okafor, but
he sucked.
Yeah, like he just wasn't good. Like the thing with DAngelo was like he was good. Like when you look at, everybody's like, oh, per 36, this, whatever. Like there's a lot of advanced metrics that he lined up with a lot of really good players, at that stage of their career. And like I was saying earlier, and this was with a suboptimal roster around him.
Worst coach ever.
He might, the worst head coach ever. Yeah, his rookie season in Kobe's farewell tour. Like what rookie is going to thrive in that type of scenario? And then you go into next year and his first year in a new system. He's got a new rookie alongside of him, just a new responsibility and everything. Like there was so much instability in his 2 years. It's like, how do you expect this kid to really, really thrive? And like, I'm amazed that he gave the production that he did, given the situation that was presented in front of him.
Yeah. I honestly, I can't think of another prospect who had more against him over the course of his rookie and sophomore seasons than DAngelo Russell has.
I mean,
and was still able to be productive.
Like, think about this. Like, we saw the Minnesota Timberwolves. They obviously had Pekovic's terrible contract, right? And they waived him the other day. They let him go. Could you imagine if they just decided, no, we're not going to waive him. We're going to attach Zach LaVine or Andrew Wiggins and send him to the Brooklyn Nets just to get rid of this contract. But we'll get back Brook Lopez, though, in the 27th pick. So, like, could you imagine? Like, I mean, people would be going crazy. I mean, I guess people are going crazy now, but you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the similar type of situation. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Not right now, at least.
Even the Knicks and all their incompetence are apparently asking for a ton for Kristaps Porzingis, and then they didn't end up trading him. That's Phil Jackson, who's constantly on peyote.
It's bad when Phil Jackson is probably sitting at his New York apartment or whatever, saying, "What the hell are the Lakers doing?"
God, that's not the greatest of signs.
I guess this is the larger overriding theme here, is that the Lakers had so much momentum, right? Like we can get into like the minutia of they could have held this off. They could have waited a month, a week, or whatever, a season to make this kind of like that stuff. That stuff will be talked about and bandied about for years to come, for months to come at the very least. Mm-hmm. But in the immediate moment right now, the Lakers had all the momentum in the world. People were high on Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka. Now it's calling into question those guys because, like, for all the hype that was surrounding them clearing out the Lakers organization, they got rid of the bartender and they were going to beef up the analytics crew. Like they decided. Have you heard? I haven't heard, and Harrison and I would be covering this kind of thing. Have you heard any actual hires to fill those positions?
No.
I haven't either, right? And then now, they make a move like today, and look, had they filled those positions and they made a move like this, then you say, all right, maybe they knew something through their numbers and their information that they got with this crazy new team that we could give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Just like if they don't make this move and not making that move before they bring that team into place, eventually you give them the benefit of the doubt and they say, well, look, they had to fill their organization out before they were able to make this kind of trade or whatever. But to not fill those positions and to make this move, all that momentum, like you said a second ago, Gary, all the momentum that they were waking up with, not just with, the pieces that seemed to be lining up really excited, that they got everybody so excited. But now you're starting to get doubt creep into everybody's mind of like, oh shit, Magic Johnson's tweets might actually be what he thinks about the NBA, and they can't have that. Like as an organization, they can't risk that right now. They can't. We joke about their brand surviving the last 4 years. Do you think it would survive 8 more years, especially if the Banana Boat crew wind up with the Clippers in Inglewood, where the Lakers made their name in the first place anyway? That wouldn't work out very well.
But on the bright side, Magic's going to give us franchise cornerstone Michael Carter-Williams, who's the next Gibson kid. So
is Carter-Williams available? Because I swear to God, that might come true.
Backward of the future, Michael Carter-Williams and Tyler Ennis.
No, that was the thing though
right now.
that was the thing that I immediately thought of was like, our worst fears were completely validated in a move like this. I could totally see Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka thinking, oh, we just got a top 10 center in the league in Brook Lopez. Like we got, a big name and this and that. And it's like, I mean, what? Like like I tweeted this out earlier, but so the Lakers entered the 2015 lottery fourth, right? They were the only team to move up. They jumped up 2 spots and got the number 2 pick, which, was a kind of a bummer because we knew, all right, we're not going to quite get Karl Anthony Towns, but we're still going to get a really good player. And they draft DAngelo Russell, and here we are 2 years later, and that pick has been conveyed into the 27th pick in this draft and 1 year of Brook Lopez. Like, that's it. I mean, and I'm not absolving, Mitch Kupchak or Jim Buss of any blame because, without the Mozgov contract in the first place, we might not be sitting here talking about, a deal like this, although it sounds like they were pretty determined to get rid of Russell, which there must have been some, and Anthony, I mean, maybe a little bit more, you would know more about it than us three, but I don't know if there's some major concerns behind the scenes with his immaturity or what, but I mean, it would have to be something to me very, very severe for them to just, trade the number 2 pick from 2 years ago in a salary dump for an expiring contract.
In terms of what was going on behind the scenes, I think DAngelo Russell found himself in a situation where like he could have baked cookies for the entire team every single day of his off season this year. And instead of like saying he's doing this for chemistry, Magic and Pelinka were going to point to he's trying to get everybody fat. Like the sense I got, and I hope I'm wrong with this, and I used this analogy on the podcast tonight, and I think it's already up right now. That's Locked On Lakers. You can find it on audio.
No shameless plugs. Get out of here.
But the sense of the analogy that I used was that, like, if you've ever watched Animal Planet when they're doing like a lion documentary, and in those scenes where after 2 male lions fight for like the right to mate with the rest of the pride, the lion, let's say there was an incumbent lion and it loses and it walks away, that's already a sad scene in and of itself. What gets even sadder and frankly terrifying is when the new lion that's in town now goes cub by cub and kills the cubs of the last male lion in order to ensure that his litter gets all the attention moving forward. And the reason I use that analogy is now because what I don't want to have happen here is Magic won this pissing contest with Jim Buss, and he wins over the organization with the coup that he set in place with the Lakers. And I hope he doesn't look at DAngelo Russell, who had 0 allies in the room anytime he was having a conversation with Luke Walton, Rob Pelinka, and Magic Johnson, right? Luke didn't help scout him. Magic and Rob didn't draft him. And what I hope this isn't is them walking in and saying, we want to make sure Brandon Ingram is at the absolute forefront from now on because he's our guy. He's the guy we drafted. And DAngelo Russell, no matter how talented you might have shown yourself to be, we're going to stomp you out just like, lions do in those terrifying scenes on Animal Planet. Really dark.
This podcast took a very dark and a very strange turn in a hurry.
Is not an analogy I expected to.
That's exactly what Ben and Tom's response was too.
Well, I think I saw this on Twitter. It actually might have been you, Anthony, that tweeted this. But at this point, Rob and Magic are making a lot of moves where you're just kind of thinking, oh, well, that better work out. And they're starting to kind of pile up now. And that's not a good that's not things you want to pile up, because when they start going wrong, they're all going to go wrong, and it's going to get really bad for the Lakers. And it was kind of the thought one of the many thoughts I had was, like, when they dealt him, you're like, oh, well, this better work out, because if he goes on in Brooklyn and just kind of lights the world afire and whatnot, like, this is going to look really bad for us. But, the other thing that surprised me, you talked about, Anthony, about this kind of not seeming like an informed decision or whatnot because they don't have an analytics staff. I mean, at least I believe it was in Ding's piece tonight, and he's kind of a mouthpiece for the Lakers. I mean, he said something to the effect that he didn't think, or I guess the Lakers didn't think that Lonzo and DAngelo could play together, and that DAngelo couldn't necessarily like recover his draft stock or his trade value, I should say. I mean, that makes no sense. Like Lonzo walked into a terrible UCLA team that wasn't necessarily built like for his skill set and made everybody on that team look great. Like TJ Leaf's going to be a first-round pick. I mean, TJ Leaf's good, but Lonzo Ball played a big role in TJ Leaf being a first-round pick. I don't know if he'd be a first-round pick if Lonzo hadn't have been there. And it's stuff like that. Like, you really don't think that Lonzo, in some degree, would have helped resurrect DAngelo's trade value. Like,
their
that
fit
was like
offensively
one of the things.
was magical. Their fit offensively together was magical, and it made me so excited that I went on. Like, Harrison gave me a hard time about it, and then tweeted about it, I think, after their show. But I said, like, they could force Laker fans to completely rethink what it is to watch perimeter basketball played. You know,
I agreed with you when you said that.
And like, that's the bummer here, is that they're just moving on from this, and they're not even getting anything in return. Like, great, they're getting the 27th pick. They got the 28th pick for Lou effing Williams. Like awesome. They got Brooke Lopez, who was really good, but they aren't going to be able to re-sign him. Like, I would hope they don't re-sign him.
If they do, it means something went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your best case is that you flip him for a first-round pick.
Yeah. I just,
so, like, best case scenario, you traded DAngelo for like 2 first-round picks,
and it doesn't end well.
Well, and the thing that really irritates me about this too is Adrian Wojnarowski of The Vertical reported that the Nets were about to take Dwight Howard's contract with a draft pick, I think, before the Lakers called and said, "Hey, we'll give you DAngelo Russell and Timofey Mozgov." Like, I guarantee you, that was like, they were like, okay, let's get the league on the phone now before you even hang up, before you have a chance to change your mind. Because, I mean, that's just, you're going from, Dwight's still, a decent NBA player. He's certainly far from what he once was. But you go from that, and like, because the Nets are so, they don't have any resources right now to bring in young talent. Like, they have to hit on these late first-round picks, these second-round picks, because all their high picks keep going to Boston, and that's going to be the case next year too. So, like, you just gift-wrapped them, the second pick from a couple years ago, just for them to take on a bad contract, but they're not going to be a free agent destination anyways. Like, this was such a no-brainer for the Nets that, Sean Marks, their GM, probably never thought in his wildest dreams that like a trade offer like this would be presented to them this summer to get a prospect like DAngelo Russell just to take on Timofey Mozgov, who's still, to me, a lot of people don't like him. He's still a serviceable NBA player. Like, you don't want him being. He doesn't
fit the Lakers system, but he fits a system. I think he's still starting caliber, and he will start. Yeah, that's what Brooklyn is, but he'll start. He'll be decent.
I guess the way I'd put it is like this, is like, how I'll float out trade machine ideas and like people will yell at me, like everybody will get angry at me. Like the way I kind of look at it is, if I send out a trade idea and I have one side like saying, you know what, I definitely do that, and like one side is really livid at me, that's when I say, all right, I didn't do a good enough job, because in that scenario, in order to make that hypothetical work, you have to piss off both sides, because it means it's worthwhile for both sides going the other way. In this, like, if Nets Daily was to throw this trade idea out there, all of their fans would say, hell yeah, let's do that tomorrow.
And Laker Twitter would just slander them.
Yeah, like I would, you'd get a lot of, Ry Cole would, say this is funny business in a quote tweet, right? And like, and I guess it's just there's a reason Daryl Morey was calling Magic Johnson right away when he took over, right, and didn't have a GM. And all this does to the rest of the league is they're like, okay, yeah, the Lakers are perfectly open for business to get played over and over and over again because Magic doesn't know what he's doing. And like you said, Gary, all of our worst fears were kind of confirmed today. Now, things could change, but as it stands right now, it's such a Draymond, you know?
And I mean,
no, Kyle Hartwick, our very own Kyle Hartwick, well, kind of, sort of, actually went on 2K as the Nets GM, NBA 2K17 as the Nets GM, and proposed this very deal. And the pretend Lakers GM basically said, "Hell no." Like,
Yeah.
when a video game is telling you this trade is stupid, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And like we've mentioned a couple times, I mean,
I feel like, sorry, Jacob, I don't mean to interrupt, but I feel like if you went and did this trade on Trade Machine, they would be like, well, yeah, technically this works, but are you serious?
Exactly.
Hollinger would just like, there's a gif of Hollinger just laughing at you.
It would just come back like trade successful, LOL. Like that under it.
Now piss in this cup.
Yeah, but like you said a couple times, Gary, we came into today like with all this leverage against the Pacers. Like it was like it seemed like they were just going to have to like meet our demands. Now, like if you're the Pacers, like we were talking about this before we went on, like you like dig your heels in and say, no, this is our asking price, meet it. Because right now the Lakers look like panicked and just like impatient and just like, I don't even know what to describe this front office right now. Like they're running around driving the price up for Paul George when nobody's bidding against him. Like all they needed to do was sit there and just wait.
They're shooting themselves in the foot, and it's
repeatedly.
They were in such a great position coming into today. And Hani, I want you to jump in on this because you've been kind of stuck over there listening to us yell about this.
He's still here.
But I mean, like I think I was saying this earlier, or maybe I was saying it off air, but none of this seemed planned at all today. Like this just kind of seemed like they thought they had this idea of, we can get Paul George this way. And the Pacers said no, and they panicked. Like they said, okay, we got to figure out something else. Like, okay, we got rid of, DAngelo Russell and Timothy Mozgov's contract, and we got an extra first-round pick. Like that'll certainly do it now, getting the 27th pick. And now it's like they're talking, there's rumors that, hey, they might have to include Julius Randle in this deal too, just to get. So it's like essentially they're going to lose, if that happens, they're going to lose Randle and Russell for a player that is telling teams, like his agent is telling teams, don't trade for my client because he's not going to stay with you. Like, so they're giving up two of their three most valuable pieces currently on the roster for a guy that, is probably going to be there next summer. And, Cleveland's a serious threat if they can find a third team, but they don't have a GM right now. I don't even think they have an assistant GM right now. Like, they have Dan Gilbert running the show. Like, you really think that Dan Gilbert's going to make a deal?
His trade demands will be written in Comic Sans to the Bulls and the Pacers.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, but you're right about the plan issue, because even a couple hours later, we had the report that the Lakers were trying to trade the number 2 pick to the Kings to get an extra first-round pick so that they could use that in a trade for Paul George. So it seems like they thought they were getting enough to trade for Paul George from the first trade without actually knowing that they were getting enough to trade for Paul George in the first trade.
Yeah. I mean, unless this results in like them landing Paul George and another superstar this summer, I mean, it's going to be really hard for them to validate this without getting LeBron next summer. Like,
but even if they get LeBron, like even if they get him, he's 35. He's going to age really well. But like you're hoping that LeBron and his decline isn't so precipitous that only 3 years later you're in the same situation you were with Dwight and Nash at the very end. Mm-hmm. And by the way, LeBron has only played more minutes than any player in NBA history, right?
Yeah.
Like I love LeBron. He, to me, is the best player I have ever watched, ever. And watching him play with the Lakers would be really cool for like a week. And then I'd realize, was it really worth it to completely mortgage the Lakers' future for this guy who is probably more interested in ownership with the Lakers than he is winning basketball games with the Lakers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I said, I tweeted it and I wrote it in the piece that I did. I mean, even if we get LeBron and we get PG next summer, the process to get there was still wrong. Like, the result doesn't vindicate the process. Like, we screwed this up, and even if it ends up in us lucking into LeBron and PG, that doesn't make what we did any better. Like, this, yeah, like it's frustrating to see. And I mean, on top of that, with the PG stuff, like, we went into today thinking like, oh, well, we'll just offer the 28th pick, Clarkson and Nance, and that'll be our offer and that'll be it. And now, like, 16 hours later, the Lakers are trying to offer him 3 first-round picks and Julius Randle. It's like, well, why? What happened that nobody made any kind of move? Like, you're just sitting here driving up the price, and this whole process has just been crazy to me. Like, where did this come from?
It sounds like a rookie GM being taken advantage of, is what it. I mean,
it's exactly what's happening.
It's what it sounds like. And I'm really, really hoping that the Lakers know something that we don't, like that we all don't. Like, they've got this plan in place, but nothing today suggested we know exactly like what direction we're going to go. Like, Wojnarowski reports, honey, like you were saying, that they're locked in on Lonzo Ball. And then like 3 or 4 hours later, David Aldridge is reporting, oh, they're trying to trade this pick for 5 and 10. like what? Like, this just feels like they've made up their minds. Like, we got to get Paul George now, no matter what it costs. Besides Brandon Ingram, and I mean, even I can't even remember. There were reports about it today though that they were willing to include the number 2 pick if they can get a third team involved. Like, so they're already wilting on like their initial stance. At what point is, okay, maybe we'll throw in Brandon Ingram if that gets us, like, I doubt that'll happen because of how highly they've spoken of him. But I mean, you're doing all this for a slight chance at, like you said, Anthony, a 35-year-old LeBron James, which when he's a free agent, I mean, how is that pitch going to go? Like, Anthony, you mentioned, he would come out here for like the business ventures, and it's Los Angeles, like that market. And that's really what they would have to sell him on. And that's really been their pitch the last few years because they haven't had a basketball product to really sell these guys on. And, with LeBron, it's like next summer, yeah, things might go south there. You never know. They just, let go of a GM that he really liked. But think of the situation he's in. Like, he's a hometown hero. Like, he is a god in Cleveland. Like, that guy could literally do no wrong there. And he's on a championship contender that can steamroll through the Eastern Conference every single year. Like, why would he want to leave that to come to Paul George and a bunch of young guys with the Lakers?
If the young guys are even still around, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we're ignoring the fact that what today showed me, and I tweeted this out, and I had people like saying, well, when I tweeted it. And it's like, what today told me was that these guys don't care at all about the long-term rebuild. They want shiny toys right now.
Which goes against everything that they've been saying.
Yeah,
and it's funny to me. It's funny to me because Magic, they have this, and I don't know if this is, Dr. Bust's vision to him, but it was like, Magic, dude, you were drafted by the Lakers, and they gave you time to. I mean, he was good right away, but it's like they weren't, trying to trade you for, another established player like right out of the gate. Like, you were drafted and got time, and we're in a good situation to develop.
Even to go a step further in that, they had an established, really good player in Norm Nixon who was playing alongside Magic Johnson, and they traded him to be able to get a younger Byron Scott. They drafted James Worthy. They've grown through the draft before. It just so happens that the league isn't rigged and the league isn't stupid like it was back then. And it just well, actually, technically, the Lakers are stupid like they were back then, but that's only because they keep on hearkening back to what it was like back then. I want to throw this fun hypothetical out here because it's kind of down, and I kind of just want to hear some laughter for a second. But what if What if it just so happens that the Lakers and Rob Pelinka just were like the two worst negotiators, and they just happened to be negotiating it against each other, and the result was Kobe's $48 million deal? Like, Pelinka's there telling them, well, you realize my guy just tore his Achilles. And then Jeannie and Jim and all the J-named buses are sitting there saying, well, you know, we really don't have any other stars who we could possibly get. And then Pelinka's sitting there saying, well, this would literally be the worst contract that you've ever signed. And then like the other, like they just go back and forth and just completely bungling negotiations. And that's what I'm watching now, where it's like the Pacers are saying, all right, fine. You put us over a barrel. We'll take 28 Clarkson and Brewer, and let's just be done with this. And the Lakers were like, no, hold on. Let me trade DAngelo Russell and get you the 27th pick. And they're like, okay, all right. Wait 1 second. We can get the Kings on the line, and we can get you the 5th pick as well as the 27th pick and the 28th pick. And the Pacers just sitting there like, I mean, I guess. And Larry Bird's like, I can't imagine how bad these guys must be at negotiating. I hope. It's funny. I don't know if you guys have ever heard Dominique Foxworth on the LeBatard show, and he told the story of like the first time that he sat in a meeting across the table from owners. And it's this weird thing that we do in this country, and I guess generally in society, where we say we equate intelligence with wealth, right? And bloggers are just like seen as the dumbest people out there but like we equate intelligence with wealth. And I think what's going on here is that we're kind of finding out that, like, yes, Magic Johnson has been incredibly successful in all his business ventures, but maybe he isn't as smart as some of the people sitting across the table from him who aren't actual billionaires too, you know? And that's terrifying to find out, because the Lakers are probably stuck with Magic for the foreseeable future.
I mean, the first red flag that I had was, you know, when they hired Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka to their respective positions, was them saying, we've got to go to CBA school. Like, really? We're hiring people to our 2 highest basketball operations positions. They don't know what the hell the CBA is all about. Like,
yeah.
Are you serious?
Right. And again, like we equate wealth with intelligence. The Buss family, like at this point, none of those people built their own wealth. None of them.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more toxic in sports than bad ownership. Just ask the Cleveland Cavaliers. Dan Gilbert's about to run LeBron James out of Cleveland for the second time.
That's impressive. Like, I can't even. You can't even be mad at that. You just got to be impressed.
And the Lakers are sitting there waiting to give 35-year-old LeBron $35 million per year. Like, yeah, all right, we'll see how this goes.
Well, like on that point, I mean, we talked about it. Ben Rosales, he might have mentioned it on your guys' pod, but he put together like the cap situation the Lakers are at right now. They can't even afford a max contract for LeBron still. Like, if they stretch Luol Deng and give PG the max, which I don't know why he wouldn't take that, and they trade Clarkson, they still are $500,000 short of giving LeBron the max. Like, all of this work, and it's like stuff, and you're still not there. Like, they're still gonna have to somehow get rid of Luol Deng's deal if they want LeBron, and that would be LeBron coming to a team that has PG, Randall, Ingram, Lonzo, Larry Nance, and Zubats.
Doesn't that kind of get back to the point that I raised earlier about the staff that they fired and haven't reportedly replaced already?
Mm-hmm.
They had a cap guy. Like, currently, Lakers Twitter is more qualified to decipher the league's cap rules than the actual Lakers.
That's what I was thinking earlier. I was like, it's sad when I trust Lakers Twitter more than guys that are paid very good money to make these decisions in their front office.
Yeah,
we haven't even went to CBA school.
Speak for yourself.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about Brandon Ingram. You know, I mean, it's kind of in a way, like, I get, like, it's probably going to be a confidence boost that they have been so protective of him, and they've said he's untouchable. We're not trading him, which is, I mean, I get it. I get, like, you know, his potential and his ceiling as a player. I mean, but as much as I hate to say it, he was a bad basketball player as a rookie. Like, he wasn't good last year. Like, I think he was one of the worst rookies, like, with a lot of the, when you look at some of the efficiency metrics. Like, he didn't shoot the ball well at all. And, that's what he came into the league kind of touted as, like a good shooter, a good scorer. And we didn't see that. We saw flashes of a lot of different things, but now I'm worried that they're putting so many expectations on this kid that it's like, if he doesn't pan out, like, they're in serious trouble, because they're putting so much stock into him becoming, a star player and an elite scorer in this league.
It's almost as much pressure as giving him Kobe Bryant's locker. Almost.
I mean, they're putting a ton of pressure on not only Ingram, but Lonzo Ball now too. Like, the guy that was going to help kind of ease him into the Lakers and into the league is now gone. Like, Lonzo and Ingram both, they're just kind of like, okay, you guys are the guys, and good luck. Like, this is, I mean, yeah, right, a lot of expectations for.
Well, you're putting a huge burden on Lonzo now to create offense. Because your best playmaker is gone.
Yeah, you were without creators last year, and I mean, if Randall gets traded, your two playmakers from last year are gone.
I actually think in this respect, the Lakers are probably best served trading back. I was heavily on the bandwagon of just taking Lonzo and rolling him and DAngelo Russell out there and finding what those guys have to offer together. But like you, for in respect or in regards to the pressure that's on Lonzo when he walks through the door, that's going to be insane because of LeVar Ball and because the Lakers just traded away the better creator between the two of them and all of that madness. But if the Lakers trade back and they get another asset here to kind of make up for shitting on another asset, then they could kind of. Do you guys cuss on this thing? I just realized I've cuss a couple times. Anywho,
I just figured you were drunk. We don't, but
all right. Well, sorry. They pooped on another asset, and so they could move back and maybe take a Dennis Smith Jr. or a De'Aaron Fox, more of your, and I hate saying this, but more of your prototypical point guard who, when they walk through, they haven't had headlines. Like, I'll just admit it. Silver Screen gets insane clicks anytime we mention Lonzo Ball, right? Mm-hmm. And in that respect, maybe you get somebody who doesn't have all that hoopla surrounding them. You get another asset, and you hope again, and this is like you were talking about a second ago, Jacob. You hope that Lonzo Ball then doesn't turn out to be a superstar, and if it's Dennis Smith Jr. and the Lakers can either maybe get rid of the Deng contract, then great. Then then all the cap issues that we've been talking about kind of go out the door. But as it stands right now, like I don't think this is how crazy it is. What are we? 19 or 14 hours or 15 hours later, I woke up this morning really looking forward to Lonzo Ball and DAngelo Russell playing together, and now I'm questioning everything that I knew about this draft, and it's because I'm questioning at the very foundation whether the Lakers are qualified to make this pick.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I was so stoked for the draft. I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, just 2 more days to go, and it's like now it just has sucked all the energy out of it for me. And because like you said, like the reason I was so intrigued by Lonzo Ball was like, man, this guy next to DAngelo Russell is going to be great on offense. Like they're really going to just be, it's going to be perfect for what Luke Walton wants. Like, they're going to push the tempo, they're going to move the ball, they can shoot the ball. Like, that's exactly what they wanted. And speaking of Luke Walton, this is the thing that I don't understand either. Like, recently, like relatively recently, I think like less than a few weeks ago, he was asked somewhere, I think, what do you think about, going after a superstar or whatever, trading young pieces? And he was like, no, I'd rather just build this core or whatever. He's like, I'm opposed to breaking up this core to go chase superstars. And it's like, that's exactly what they're doing. So I don't know. Was he blowing smoke? Were they blowing smoke the whole time, saying that they value this young core and they're not going to trade pieces out? I mean, I don't know. Like, everything just seemed like it was going in a great direction. They were headed on the right track. And then in a snap, everything was just completely the opposite.
I'll just come out and say it. Magic Johnson was walking around telling everybody he was going to make the Lakers great again. And it turns out he, like the other guy who was saying that he was going to make something great again, was lying a bunch. So weird how that works out.
Woefully unqualified for the job, it appears.
Yeah, like there's a lot of similarities here that, you know, I'm not going to completely light my mentions on fire. But if you're watching right now and you're picking up on what I'm saying right now, there's a lot of similarities between Magic and that other guy.
Somebody brought this up, and I guess this might be another similarity, Anthony. You can add on to this, but somebody brought this up. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was on Twitter today, but they were saying would not surprise them one bit if they go after LeBron. LeBron says no, and they're just, you know, they're left scrambling to find somebody, and they don't. That Magic steps down and says, "I need to explore my other business ventures." Like, would that surprise you?
I mean, like, I'll say this: if that happens, and this was the last kind of point that I wanted to make, so it's kind of seamless. But the unfortunate thing from Byron Scott's tenure was that, like, we are looking back on somebody who was a really electric Laker and a pretty big piece of the Showtime Lakers, and we're looking back on him, and the only thing that I'm really going to remember him for is being the worst coach in the history of professional sports. Like, that sucks. You know, that legacy gets just pooped on the way that it's going to be from now on. And now if Magic comes in, and I mean, like, I guess technically he could go off and look at his other business ventures, but if he mangles this the way, like, if this negative momentum carries and he mangles this completely, are we going to look back on Magic Johnson and say, because he sucked as a coach too?
Yeah,
he was awful as a coach too.
But remember, he knew what it meant to be a Laker, just like Kurt Rambis did as a coach. So,
but wouldn't it suck? Like, we're all four of us here, right? We're all four of us are the reason we do this. It for damn sure isn't for money. We do this because we love the Lakers. We love talking about the Lakers. We love talking with other people who know what they're talking about the Lakers. And it would suck to look back on Magic Johnson's legacy if he mangles this and say, you know what? Maybe, you know, Kareem leapfrogs him as the greatest Laker of all time, or Kobe completely takes that title from just distancing. Like, there's a reason I think Kobe distanced himself at every turn from going into this business. And it's because I think he realized this is a really competitive industry. I don't want to risk the business ventures that I currently have that are contingent upon me being one of the greatest Lakers of all time. I don't want to risk that in this insane market that is currently the NBA. And if Magic got into this without enough information at hand and mangles this, then there goes that legacy, and that would be a real sad day. That we look up there at those jerseys and we say, "Oh yeah," when we go to Staples Center, and if the Lakers don't get LeBron, or if this Paul George thing doesn't happen and this thing completely falls apart, instead of looking up at Magic Johnson's jersey and thinking 5 titles, groundbreaking talent both on and off the court, instead of thinking those things, we think, this motherfucker traded freaking DAngelo Russell for nothing, you know? And like that would be awful. And I don't think I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, because like I was thinking about that earlier with Magic and like his legacy and his following that he has now, and I mean, it's certainly extremely well deserved. It's earned, and Absolutely. Like there are certain things that like I wanted to say today, but I chose not to, because I'm like, I can't go after this guy that, you know, means so much to the city of Los Angeles and means so much to this fan base. I'll get lit up, and, you know, I'm just a blogger from Boise, Idaho. Like, I mean, Siberia to Anthony, but like, yeah, like, I mean, he has that now, but I mean, how much I don't know. I don't think he could ever really completely ruin his legacy, but he could certainly damage it by really screwing this thing up.
Maybe that's why, kind of like Anthony said, maybe that's why Kobe just doesn't want anything to do with the Lakers. He doesn't want to run the risk of kind of ruining his legacy.
Kobe's like, watch, I'm going to make myself easily the greatest Laker of all time.
Kobe was the one telling Magic take care of it for me.
Kobe was telling Magic to take this job.
Light years ahead.
Oh, Hani, do you have any more thoughts on the subject?
Honestly, I'm just really tired.
It was a long day.
I've been staring at Twitter for about 12 hours a day over the past week, so I'm glad that it paid off by watching my team blow it. So
choose a favorite team, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
Jacob, you're a Vikings fan, and it sucks to be a Vikings fan. Where did this rank in terms of like your all-time sports disappointments? Because for me, like today, this felt like that wide left kick.
Oh, this was worse than that. Oof. I mean, I felt like this. I don't even
NFC
think I felt
championship game, like the
yeah. Well, yeah, that one might have been worse. I mean, I didn't even feel this bad when last spring or preseason when Teddy blew out his knee. Like, I was just in shock today.
Yeah, I would agree.
You guys brought that up. Like I was thinking about that. And I was like, man, this is the same kind of feeling I had in 2008 when the Lakers blew that 24-point lead in the finals in Game 4.
Yeah.
Like that's what I felt. And speaking of football, I was saying it today. I was like, it's really, really sad when I have like full faith in the Tennessee Titans to build a roster more than I do the Lakers. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I live in an alternate universe.
Look forward to the Viking season, and good God, that never ends well.
I was like, I know. I was just thinking today, I can't wait for football season, and usually the Titans make me dread football season every single year. So,
I'm honestly afraid to wake up tomorrow morning. I'm afraid to I'm gonna go to sleep tonight. I'm gonna wake up and find out that like in order to get rid of Luol Deng's contract in the hopes that they could attract Carmelo Anthony in free agency, they're gonna move the number 2 pick in Brandon Ingram.
Well, that's what I tweeted out right after. I was like, "What's next? Are we gonna trade Randall and one of these picks or 2 of these first?" I think I said Randall 2 firsts and Deng for Carmelo Anthony. Like, I mean, at this point, it's something I could see them doing. It's a star player. It's a big name, and
even better,
you shed the contract.
They'll go with like, we'll give you Luol Deng and we'll give you a future first overall pick, and they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, if we ever get the first overall pick,
it's yours.
The next number 1 overall pick we get, it's yours.
Yeah, you get to name my next baby.
They'll be like, we'll give you Brandon Ingram, the number 2 pick, and Deng for Carmelo. Okay, you guys want Porzingis too, right? No, we just want Carmelo.
No, the negotiation play. The Knicks would ask, "Hey, do you guys want Porzingis?" Like, no. Oh, actually, we'll take Noah off your hands. Like,
no.
The Knicks will just be like, "Hey, there's only 1 year left on Noah's contract," and they just totally buy it. And they're just like, "Okay, yeah, cool."
Yeah, this is a sad, dark timeline. I made fun of a timeline today because of Phil Jackson, and then Magic was like, "Hold my beer."
Life came at us so fast. I was mocking the Knicks this morning, and now we're the joke.
Yeah,
wow.
I just don't get, like, I understand there's always going to be fans that defend their team's every single move. There's just going to be those people out there.
Heavening.
I don't know how to justify this as a good move. Like, I get the cap space, but you weren't in a hurry. You're not signing anybody this summer. And, when it comes to next summer, those contracts are so much easier to move because they're 2 years instead of 3. And I don't know how people are justifying this as a good trade.
Because we get to watch contract year Brook Lopez.
that cap space guy, man, he's really good apparently.
Yeah. First name cap, last name space.
Yeah, we're expecting a big year We're expecting a big year out of expiring contract.
Well, the scary thing is that like Nick Young hasn't even opted out of his deal yet. So
could you imagine?
Yeah, I saw that thrown in there today, and I was just like, nope, done with Twitter for a while. I just walked away and went.
No. I could see this. He opts in, and Magic's like, because Magic has been pretty open. Like he doesn't want Nick Young here. I mean, not super open, but you could tell. But I'm
think
worried.
He outright told Nick he didn't want him here based on their press conference.
in their exit meeting. Yeah. But what worries me is like Nick Young opts in. He's like, oh well, DAngelo's gone. Whatever. He opts in. And it's like, all right, well, we got it. Well, and then Magic's like, well, we got to get rid of this guy. All right, number 2 pick and Nick Young for an expiring contract.
God.
Oh.
While we were doing
number
this
2
podcast.
pick and Nick Young for Wesley Johnson.
Oh no,
done.
I didn't need to hear that name.
Triggered.
Um,
Kevin Ding hasn't wrote a hit piece on him in a while.
Yeah.
While we were doing this podcast, Mozgov's agent retweeted like an NBA memes or something photo of Nick Young still being a Laker.
No, did he actually?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's in our Slack. I'll show you later.
Of course. No, I had this thought. So Jerry West is with the Clippers now, right? I honestly, we've been going on for a while here. I don't even know if I've said this, but could you imagine the look on Magic and Pelinka's face if LeBron says, yeah, I'll come to LA. I'm going to sign with the Clippers. And could you imagine just like the smile that Jerry West would give those two and just like the look on their face if LeBron finally decided to leave Cleveland again to come to LA and it wasn't for the Lakers? Like
the only smile Jerry West has ever allowed himself would be that one.
Yeah.
Like he'd never smiled in his life and it would be that. Like he'd go out like you guys saw Yasiel Puig gave Cleveland fans the double middle fingers like that. Jerry West would make himself a meme in which he's Yasiel Puig flipping off 2 pigs. He'd show the most personality.
I mean, to be serious for a second, I mean, I tweeted this earlier when somebody mentioned Jerry West. What was it, a couple years ago when he threatened to quit if the Warriors traded Klay Thompson? I mean, doesn't this feel like that type of move if they had just brought him into the front office and let him know, hey, we're thinking of trading DAngelo and Mozgov for Brook Lopez? Doesn't that feel like a move where he like puts his foot down and says, no, I'm going to quit if you do this? Like, don't you think that would have had any weight on the conversation?
Well, what drives me nuts about the Jerry West thing is that, Magic always criticized Jim Buss for, not allowing like other people that, have played the game and have more experience or whatever, for coming in and helping out. But it's like Jerry West told these guys, hey, I want to come back and help you guys rebuild this thing. And Magic was just like, nah, we're good. Like, I want to do this on my own. And that was the thing in the Kevin Ding piece that really jumped out at me was like, I was like, I mean, isn't that what you were criticizing Jim Buss for so long? I mean, I get it. Magic has a ton of experience with basketball, but I mean, like Jerry West has a history of building very, very good teams. Like it seems almost like everywhere he goes, he at least, maybe not a title team. Memphis never won one, but they became a very, very good team.
Magic has a lot of experience playing basketball, though.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have experience in. Oh, he has experience, but it's bad experience when it comes to coaching, right? And he doesn't have any experience in the front office. Like this was the concern when he was hired, and we kind of that was mitigated a little bit when they turned Lou Williams into the 28th pick. But even there, like, and you don't know what the other offers were. Magic Johnson wasn't leaking stuff at the time. So like you don't know if there was a way to ditch Lou Williams' contract without bringing back Corey Brewer. Like that, you don't know if there was a hypothetical there that was a case of. But do you think, like after finding this out today, do you think Magic was getting the absolute best offers for these guys for Lou Williams in that case?
No,
I can't feel that way.
Today, kind of when this went down, I mean, like you said, I started looking back at a lot of things that I kind of took at face value and started second guessing them. Like, that wasn't the whole story. Like, exactly what you said. Like, with the Lou Williams trade, where he's like insisting, like, "Oh, that was the best deal we could get." Well, maybe that wasn't the case, and GMs just knew they could take advantage of them, and things like that. And I mean, and again, like I said earlier, they're making a whole lot of moves where it's just like, well, this better work out. And the Jerry West thing, I mean, this today, I mean, this is there's a I'm it's amazing what
Pelinka.
one
Pelinka himself.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say real quick. I mean, it's amazing how one move just totally changed my mindset about this front office.
Yeah, I would agree. But like to your point, like all the well, this better work out moves off the top of my head, it's I think, let's see, I'm trying to go back when they were hired. So the Lou Williams trade, I think, is one of those like, all right, that worked out. That's fine. They got a first pick for him, right? They got a first rounder for him. The not hiring Jerry West, like, it'd be pretty nice to have that guy on the podcast for this, or on the having him on the podcast might be all right too. But like,
until you start talking about how Ronnie Price is supposedly better than he is,
wouldn't that make it better? That would make it better.
You could charge like $10 for that podcast, and I'd buy it.
He would punch me through my computer. But like, if you have the they didn't hire Jerry West, or they didn't bring him in. All right, that better work out. You have this move here. Oh, that better work out. Not casting a wider net for Rob Pelinka. Well, that better work out. Genie hiring Magic Johnson without interviewing a single other candidate. Mm-hmm. This better work out.
Like, there's a lot of smart basketball minds in the league that she could have gone with plenty of front office experience, but like they had their minds made up on Magic, because he's part of the family or whatever. And Anthony, I think that's something you've kind of harped on for a while now, is that they don't ever want to break away from like their roots. Like, they don't ever want to start like a true new era with like a completely new slate.
Jerry West, it was kind of funny because like I made fun of the quote at the time, but he said something in his press conference where it's like, you can learn from the test, but you shouldn't live in it, right? And then like because I'm snarky, said that like, weren't you the guy who openly opined to go back to where you started to end your career? Like, I thought that was kind of ironic, but yeah, with the Lakers, it's like this idea that, like, to me, on NBA Twitter, Lakers fans get called exceptionalist because the prior successes make Laker fans think that they have chances, they have opportunities to sign or trade for guys that other organizations don't, right? Like, that's the definition of it in Lakers or on NBA Twitter. But the actual definition of Lakers exceptionalism is that you cannot be effective working for the Lakers unless you have experience with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. That's the actual definition of it here. And that's what's terrifying about when they hired Magic Johnson, was like, there are Sam Hinkie sitting out there right now. The fact that we haven't heard a single peep about the Lakers reaching out to maybe David Griffin when LeBron is interested. Like, LeBron subtweeted his actual owner because he fired this guy, and the Lakers are interested in bringing in LeBron James, and they haven't thought about bringing in the guy who LeBron was willing to subtweet his current organization about. Like, that's insane. And the only reason they haven't thought about doing that is because David Griffin had never suited up with the Lakers for in blue and gold. Like, it's crazy to me that they haven't thought about doing that. And yeah, Jerry Buss did a really good job running the Lakers and making everybody believe it was this like mom and pop shop that like you could only understand what it means to be a Laker if you were a Laker. But the league has moved past that. Like, the league has not only has it moved past that, but they have lapped the actual Lakers. And everybody who I would go so far as to say, if you ever worked for the Lakers, I'd be hesitant to hire you because of how far behind the times the Lakers currently are.
Mm-hmm.
that's a sad day, and that's a terrifying thought, because that's the only people who are interested in running, or the people who are running the Lakers right now. Those are the only people that they're interested in hiring.
Yeah, it's wild. Just, I mean, it's crazy how far this franchise has kind of fallen. Like the whole Lakers exceptionalism thing. I honestly was telling one of my friends earlier today, before the trade, obviously, I was like, this feels kind of like the good old days. Like we're about to just, take a superstar from a team for pennies on the dollar, like we've done in the past. Yeah. And then, Pelinka and Magic are just like, they just completely dropped the ball on this. And I don't know. Like I'm still trying to like kind of grasp how quickly this all turned. From this morning to, this afternoon, this evening, whenever the trade went down. I mean, it changed so quickly. So quickly.
It's that gif of Donald Glover walking into, is it Donald Glover?
Yeah,
it is Donald. Yeah, where he walks into the room and everything's on fire, and he's like, "Oh, what the?" It's the actual gif of that. Like, this is the actual setting.
Yeah,
we got fleeced in a trade with the Brooklyn Nets. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get over that.
Oh,
in Russia,
that just made it so worse.
Trade fleece you.
Higher congressional hearing about Russia's involvement in this trade, because I really need it.
Maybe that's how we get it voted.
That's how we get Magic fired. We find out that the Russians were tampering in this trade.
Impeach Magic Johnson.
I don't know who said it. It might have been Pat Riley. I don't even know. But I remember somebody saying it back a few years back. But it's like, insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results.
It's
and
Albert
the Lakers,
Einstein.
Is it? Okay. You're old, but anyways. But no, like that's, to me, that quote applies to this situation. Like the old regime always wanted to chase superstars and create, make sure we have cap space. We got to go after the next big star on the market. And that's exactly what they're doing, breaking up this young core so they can go chase more stars when it hasn't worked. Like the last marquee free agent they got was 21 years ago. And that was, guess who got him, by the way? Jerry West, the guy you told to, go to the Clippers. I mean, it's unreal to me, like just the thought process that's going on, or that's the lack thereof, I guess. But I don't know, like I'm kind of curious if Mitch Kupchak and Jim Buss would have made this move, say they were still here for another year or whatever, and they did this trade, like would there be anybody defending it? Like I feel like Magic kind of has some fans like obviously on his side, and will defend like his every move. I feel like if Kupchak did this, I mean they'd be rioting outside of Staples Center right now.
Well, they'd be blaming Jim Buss for it, but yes.
Well, that's true.
I think there's a honeymoon period, but I think it just ended today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like it's over.
It's like going to the Bahamas and then returning to Siberia. So
yeah, there's a honey, like when Jen and I came back from the Bahamas, and she looked at me and she's like, "Good Lord, I have to be with this for life." Like this is where the Lakers currently are right now.
Did she call you Robert Sacre, or does that only?
that was actually the fact. Did she hear that podcast? She's like, "Good Lord, I still like I can't divorce you for having you call me Robert Sacre." But
all right, guys, do you guys have any other last points that you wanna throw in before we sign off? We've been going on for a while here.
No, like Anthony said, I'm scared to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I guess my last point that I'll make here is there is no like we woke up today with this thought that there was a path forward, right? Like there was a very nice, clean, and clear path forward,
freshly paved path.
Yeah, it was ready to follow the purple and yellow brick road. Like we had it ready to go, right? And now it's like we had that yellow brick road and we saw this detour. Like there was that commercial a while back where like they were making fun of people who appeared in scary movies, how like they always run to like the dangerous situations. Like, here's a car you could hop into and you can drive yourself to safety. No, let's go into the garage over there with all the chainsaws. You know, and, like, and so like that's where I think the Lakers are today, where they had this nice clean and clear path right there, and it was right there where the Lakers were right within arm's reach of really taking a huge leap forward as an organization, and they put themselves, now this gamble could pay off. But like they I think it was Dexter Fishmore today put it perfectly, and they said they took all their 401k right before they were about to retire and put it on Powerball, you know. and that's the terrifying thing, is like, yes, it could technically work out, but if it works out, then that means they get rewarded, and they'll keep on running this back as like this logical loop. So in a certain extent, even if they're successful, you don't necessarily think that's a good thing, because that's going to make them think, yeah, let's just keep doing that, and it's going to work out in the end. So and it won't.
So we definitely wouldn't be trusting the process.
Oh, no.
I don't trust this process at all.
No. I think
there is a process to be trusted.
I hope DAngelo Russell tweets that out. You guys have to tell me if he does. I wonder if he'll unblock me now that he's not.
Of course he blocks you. Of course.
All right.
All right. Yeah, no, we've been going on for quite a while here. So we're going to sign off, but this was a lot of fun to, I've been tweeting through it all day, but we got to talk through it a little bit. And Anthony, I had a hunch that you were going to jump in on this one, but I'm glad you did. It was great discussion with the four of you. This was by far the biggest live audience we've ever had. So every time I checked the comment stream, it was going so fast I literally couldn't read anything. So I'm almost a little terrified to go back and look at it when I sign off here. But
God, people were watching this. I called Magic Donald Trump, and people were watching.
a few hundred people were watching, actually.
Oh,
No promises that your mentions aren't on fire. That's at Anthony Irwin LA.
Thinks Ronnie Price is better than Jerry West all time. So there's plenty of other things you can get him for. So
yeah.
But no, Anthony, I want to thank you for jumping in. You were back to your usual self, being fashionably late. So we appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Hani, I don't think we'll have any complaints about the sound this time. So that's good, especially because we didn't even let you talk all that much. But I thank you. Right. I thank you for
no sound problems if you never talk.
And Jacob, as always, thanks for coming on. You're usually on here with me, so it's fun. Like I said, guys, it was fun talking through it. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. We also appreciate any professional feedback on iTunes. And I say professional, I mean professional, not just criticizing the host or whatever. But yeah, no.
Gary Nation made it to iTunes yet?
If I ever start my own podcast, that's what it's got to be. But no, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. I apologize I couldn't get to the live stream. Like I said, it was going so fast I couldn't even read it anyways. But no, I want to thank you all you guys, and let's hope the next podcast, maybe tomorrow night, might do a last minute mock draft. Even though I was a lot more excited about it before today, but yeah, no, that's what's on the agenda, and hopefully the next podcast after that we can talk about something happy. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in and joining me. And until next time, maybe tomorrow, Gary Kessler, Lakers Outsiders, signing off.